A man sits in a sanatorium, dying of tuberculosis, homeless, broke, no family money left, selling fashion sketches for 10 cents each just to survive. His mother is dead, his brother is dead. His father's business collapsed in the Great Depression. Everything is gone. But here's the crazy part. 8 years later, that same man stands in Paris presenting a fashion collection, and the editor of Harper's Bazaar looks at him and says, "It's quite a revolution, dear Christian. Your dresses have such a new look." That collection saves Paris, revives an entire industry, creates a $60 billion empire. This is the story of Christian Dior, a man who lost everything in the 1930s, spent World War II designing dresses for Nazi officers' wives. Then, at 41 years old, backed by a textile magnate, launched the most important fashion collection of the 20th century. So, how did a homeless tuberculosis patient become the man who redefined femininity? Christian Ernest Dior was born on January 21st, 1905 in Granville, Normandy, France. His father, Maurice Dior, was a wealthy fertilizer manufacturer. The family lived in luxury, a beautiful villa by the sea, gardens filled with flowers. Christian grew up surrounded by art, beauty, and privilege. But he had zero interest in the family business. His father wanted him to become a diplomat. Christian wanted to be an artist. In 1928, at 23 years old, Christian convinced his father to give him money to open an art gallery in Paris. The gallery showcased works by Pablo Picasso, Salvador Dali, Man Ray, and Jean Cocteau. Christian was living the dream, hosting exhibitions, socializing with the most important artists in Europe. Then, in 1931, everything collapsed. Christian's mother died, his brother died, and the Great Depression destroyed his father's fertilizer business. The family lost everything: homes, furniture, jewelry, heirlooms, gone. Christian had to close his art gallery. He had no income, no apartment. He moved in with friends. And then he got tuberculosis, a life-threatening disease that put him in a sanatorium for a year. Most people would have given up, but Christian Dior had a friend who gave him advice that changed his life. "You can draw, why don't you sketch fashion?" In the mid-1930s, Christian began selling fashion sketches to magazines and couture houses. 10 cents per drawing, his sketches caught the attention of Robert Piguet, a Swiss fashion designer. In 1938, Piguet hired Christian as an assistant. Then, in 1939, World War II broke out. Christian was drafted. He served until 1940, when France fell. He returned to Paris. In 1941, he joined Lucien Lelong's design team alongside Pierre Balmain. And here's the dark reality. Lerning's house dressed wives of Nazi officers and French collaborators. Meanwhile, Christian's sister Catherine joined the French resistance. In 1944, she was captured, tortured, deported to Ravensbrück concentration camp. She survived until liberation in May 1945. When the war ended, Christian was 40 years old. Paris was destroyed. The fashion industry was dead. And then fate intervened. In 1946, Marcel Boussac approached Christian Dior with an offer. Boussac was one of the richest men in France, a textile magnate. He owned massive factories sitting idle after the war. He wanted to revive the French textile industry, and he needed a designer who would use lots of fabric. Boussac's first offer: design for Philippe et Gaston, an established Paris fashion house. Christian refused. "I don't want to revive an old brand. I want my own name." So Boussac made a second offer, 6 million francs. To start his own fashion house, Christian Dior was deeply superstitious. He consulted fortune tellers before major decisions. So before accepting, he visited 2 clairvoyants. Both said, "Accept, this is your destiny. On December 8, 1946, the House of Dior was founded at 30 Avenue Montaigne in Paris. Christian was 41. Most designers launched their houses in their 20s. He was starting late, but he had something others didn't: experience, hunger, and a vision shaped by suffering. He hired 85 people, 3 ateliers, and got to work on his first collection. February 12, 1947, Christian Dior presented his first collection to the world. The collection was called Corolle, botanical term for a circlet of flower petals. Over 90 different looks, and every single one was a revolution. The waists, tiny, cinched with corsets, some so tight they required padding on the hips just to create the illusion of an hourglass. The shoulders, soft, sloping, rounded. The skirts, enormous, full, voluminous. Some dresses used over 13 yards of fabric pleated into the waist, creating monumental volume. It was the opposite of everything fashion had been for the past decade. During the war, fabric was rationed. Dresses were boxy, practical, military-inspired. Dior brought back femininity, luxury, extravagance. Carmel Snow, editor-in-chief of Harper's Bazaar, sat in the audience watching models parade down the runway. When it ended, she turned to Dior and said, "It's quite a revolution, dear Christian. Your dresses have such a new look." The new look, that phrase stuck, and it changed fashion history. The fashion press went insane. The new look was front page news. But not everyone was happy. In Paris, women attacked Dior's models during a photo shoot in Montmartre. Why? Because Paris was still recovering from war. People were struggling, starving, and here was Dior with dresses using 13 yards of fabric when most people could barely afford bread. It felt obscene, a slap in the face. In America, women in Dallas formed the Little Below the Knee Club. They protested with signs, "Down with new look," and "Christian Dior, go home." Critics called the designs impractical, constraining, a step backward. But despite the backlash, the new look became a phenomenon. Women who had lived through years of austerity wanted beauty again. They wanted femininity, romance, hope, and Dior gave it to them. By 1949, Dior's fashion house was generating 75% of Paris's fashion export revenue. He launched Miss Dior perfume in 1947, named after his sister, Catherine. Hollywood stars wore his designs. Royalty commissioned custom pieces. Christian Dior saved Paris. After World War II, Paris had lost its status as fashion capital. But the new look put Paris back on top. For the next decade, Christian Dior was the arbiter of fashion. Then, on October 24, 1957, Christian Dior died of a heart attack while on vacation in Italy. He was 52 years old. He had run his fashion house for only 10 years, but in that decade, he changed fashion forever. Today, Christian Dior SE is part of LVMH. The brand is worth over $60 billion. And it all started because a homeless tuberculosis patient refused to give up. So here's what you need to understand about Christian Dior. He wasn't born into poverty. He fell into it. He had everything. Then lost it all. Mother dead, brother dead, family business destroyed, homeless, sick, desperate. Most people would have disappeared. But Christian Dior rebuilt. From nothing. With fashion sketches worth 10 cents. And when Marcel Boussac gave him a chance at 41, he didn't play it safe. He created the most audacious, extravagant collection the fashion world had seen in decades. In a world recovering from war, he chose beauty over practicality, fantasy over function. And it worked. Because people don't just want survival, they want dreams. Dior understood something profound. Fashion isn't about clothes. It's about hope. After years of ration tickets and deprivation, women wanted to feel beautiful again. Dior gave them that. His new look wasn't just fashion. It was a rebellion against austerity, a declaration that suffering doesn't have to be permanent. Christian Dior proved that your lowest point doesn't define you. You can lose everything, your family, your money, your health, and still build an empire. Today, when someone wears Dior, they're wearing the story of a man who refused to quit. A man who went from homeless to haute couture. A man who proved that beauty can rise from ashes. That's not just a fashion story. That's the power of resilience. If this story inspired you, hit subscribe and the bell icon so you never miss another rise from poverty fashion empire story. Drop a comment. What's your favorite Christian Dior design? And check out our video on Coco Chanel for another legendary French fashion icon who changed the world. Thanks for watching.